Hey everybody, welcome to FrugalTech-Live. This is episode number 335. Wow, I can't believe we're up to episode 335. And we have a special guest today, Mr. David Vela of Altaro Software. And he's going to be joining us today to talk to us about starting his own software company. A lot of things that are involved. I think you're going to find this a really interesting show. So we'll be right back. Don't go away. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of FrugalTech-Live. I'm your host, Bruce Naylor, and we thank you so much for taking time every day to stop by and visit with us. We want to ask you folks to remember to subscribe to our Justin.tv channel. If you like what we do, we always appreciate it. And remind everybody that we have another program that we do every Sunday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time called Home Office Weekly. Make sure you join us for that. Now, there will not be an episode of Home Office Weekly this next Sunday in honor of the Father's Day weekend, but we will resume the next Sunday. Now, we've got a great guest on the show for you today, Mr. David Vela. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Altaro Software, and he co-founded the company in 2009. Now, prior to Altaro, David spent 11 years at GFI Software, and he worked his way up to the post of Director of Product Management. And so, as I said, in 2009, he started his own company in December of 2009 and has since sold over 4,000 customers worldwide. More than 50% of the customers are located right here in the United States of America, and the rest are in the rest of the world. So let's go ahead and bring David right on. And there we go. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, Bruce.
Hey,
good afternoon.
Good. Well, it's actually evening for you, right?
Yeah, it is.
A lot of people are very envious when they hear Malta. That's where you're at right now. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm in Malta right now. It's 9 p.m. But Malta. I mean, it's very hot right now. The weather is already, it's summer, so we still work late, and especially in summer. So it's okay.
Okay. Well, David, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll talk a little bit about the background of your company.
Okay, Bruce. So first of all, I really wanted to thank you for having me over. I have followed Frugal Brothers for a couple of years now, since when I was still working at GFI Software. A bit about me, I have a passion in technology, right? I mean, that's the main reason.
Sure.
Why I work here. I spent most of my life working in the software industry, 11 of which they have been at GFI Software, where, as you mentioned already, when I left GFI Software, I had the position of Director of Product Management. I was responsible for product strategy at that time. And now I am fulfilling my lifelong dream of running my own software business, which is Altaro Software. So that's pretty much it, I guess.
Well, what got you interested? So you're by training a programmer developer yourself, a software engineer by trade?
Okay. Well, whenever people ask me which university I went, I always said University of Life, right? That
okay.
is because, frankly, I never really went to any university.
Okay.
I started GFI Software at just assembling PCs. Since then, I went to development, which is engineering, QA, network administration, security. I was really into security at that time. And, well, I guess I went up the ladder to do product management. But really, yes, I started purely technical. Then I went also into a bit of a marketing role when it comes to product management.
Okay, but you've always been interested in technology, is that correct?
Yes, that's that's what makes me tick.
That's what makes you tick. So, so what did you teach yourself, like C and C+ and all that, or How did that come about? How did you get actually into programming?
At that time, I don't know if you remember Delphi, right?
Oh, sure, Delphi, yeah. Right.
Yeah,
that goes back a ways.
That was the language I remember.
Sure.
So that was Delphi, Perl, well, Delphi and Perl mostly. So yes, it's all self-taught, you know. I mean, I'm curious by nature, Bruce. So when something excites me, right? I mean, I go for it, you know. And the good thing about information technology nowadays is, especially software development, is that if you like it, right? I mean, you can learn by yourself. It's not like, for example, where we're in the, say, a doctor, right? You cannot learn from yourself. I mean, I don't think anyone is going to allow you to do surgical procedures on him. But in IT, you know, it's just you and the machine. So you can just do all of it, you know, in your own time.
Okay. Why don't we get to... now, you were at GFI for 11 years. You had a multitude of roles at GFI. What prompted you to get into the software business on your own?
Well, as I mentioned, I mean, having my own software company was always my dream. Actually, it was more having my own information IT company. My dream before I even joined GFI was having an internet service provider, right? Since then, obviously, I didn't go into that space.
Okay.
And I was very lucky to start working at the first-class company where I learned a lot. That was GFI. At GFI, I experienced many different disciplines and had many different responsibilities. When I joined, GFI were 15 employees. When I left, were well more than 200, I believe. And I worked alongside great people. So after, as I'm sure you agree, 11 years is a long time.
It's a very long time for the same company, especially in IT.
Exactly. So there was a time when I decided it was time to move on and fulfill my dreams. So in 2009, because GFI were 3 co-founders, together with my 2 other co-founders, we started Altaro Software with the idea of developing easy-to-use backup software. We did some market research. We know that there are loads of other backup products out there, but we went for how do you say, our sweet spot was easy to use and fast backup software, and that's that's how we started, really.
Okay, well, and that's great. Did I hear you right? Said at one point you wanted to be an internet service provider?
Yeah, that was way back. I believe way back before GFI.
Way back before that. Okay, so the idea of easy to use backup. Well, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of people, especially in the consumer space, still don't back up like they should. Is that because, do you think that's because it's too difficult? The tools are too difficult? Why is it that so many consumers don't back up like they should?
Well, I guess it's the same reason why if insurance, right? If having a car insurance was not mandatory by law, loads of people wouldn't have it, right? Same thing.
True.
So backup is like an insurance, right? I mean, you only realize you need it, that you should have one when you need it, which is unfortunately is typically a bit too late.
Yes.
So it's typically an oversight, you know. It's procrastination, you know. I mean, it will never happen to me, but you know, it will happen. You know, it's you delete a file by mistake or the hard disk, right? I mean, crashes or something like that. It does happen. Now it can happen that you lose all the operating system, right? All the files, or you just by mistake overwrite a file, or worse, you know, I mean, which is very, very common. You're working on an Excel file or a Microsoft Word document. You save it, you try to open it again, and it's corrupted. Right. So yeah, that's why most of the consumers, you know, they don't go for it. It's because it's an extra for them, you know. I mean, it's like paying insurance.
So okay, so the price maybe for backup software might stop some people, or they just really don't realize the danger of not backing up until it's too late.
Yeah. Then there's also ease of use. Most of the backup products are out there are really difficult to explain because they are developed with an engineer in mind, or maybe not an engineer, but a power user in mind, right? To be fair. So when a user sees it, right, he configures it, maybe, you know, through some wizard, you know, the consumer installs it, configures through some wizard, and it's working. When he gets to restore, that's typically when the trouble starts. because you have to understand all the little options here and there, what they do, and how to restore, etc. We tried to, let's put it that way, fix that issue where our product is easy to use to back up, right? To configure, to back up, but it's also very easy to use to restore. You know, it's literally, it's very, very easy to restore. I mean, we have customers, you know, I mean, that when sometimes they send us emails, right? When they want to restore, they just literally go back in time, find the file which they want to restore. It's, you know, a few seconds, you know, literally seconds, and the file is back on their desktop where it was before. So that's why our focus on ease of use.
Okay. Why don't we talk a little bit about some of the products that you make? Why don't we start with Oops Backup? By the way, I love the name, Oops.
Okay. No, that's actually
who thought that one up,
funny.
David?
Oops Backup was our first product. We launched that in 1st December 2009. So basically, the company started selling in 1st December 2009. It's a very easy to use. You know, it's one of our pillars. How to put it like that? Continuous data protection backup solution. So every few minutes, you know, it takes a backup of the files you configured for backup. We received many positive reviews, mostly on the file versioning technology we have, the reverse delta technology, which I would like to talk to you about, and also the back-in-time restore browser. The back-in-time restore browser is the technology we have for which allows the user to go back in time and get back a file how it was at that point in time. Maybe it's a bit confusing to explain like that, but when it was launched, we had actually, you mentioned the name. When it was launched, we had people sending us emails to tell us what an ugly name we gave the product.
Okay.
Now, we also had people saying that, you know, they like the name. So I guess it's a hate it or love it type of product. By hindsight, maybe we could have chosen a better name. I mean, really, it was my fault. I mean, that was the first mistake I did, and definitely, I mean, I did more mistakes.
It won't
after
be
that.
the last, David.
But yeah, we won't be changing it now, right? I mean, at least now we have a bit of a brand.
Yeah.
So that's how it is. So we launched with Oops Backup in our first month, which was December 2009. I remember we were at the Christmas staff party around the end of year, and in our first month we sold to over 200 customers. Now, I know it's not super special, right? But considering that it's our first ever month, right? We got 200 customers. We barely did any marketing, if at all, and we're a totally bootstrapped company. We're very happy with that result.
Okay.
Now I'm pleased to say that, I think you mentioned it already, we just welcomed our 4,000th customer. We did that, so in 18 months we built a customer base of 4,000 people. We just, I think a few weeks ago, we reached that number, and we're obviously very, very happy with that.
What is the cost of Oops? What is the retail price of the Oops software?
Yes. The price is $37 for every PC. So if you have a PC, say, where you have 3 users logging on the same PC, then it's $37. Okay. Obviously, we have volume discounts. We have companies which say buy 100 workstations. That goes down to around, I believe, $19 or $20 a workstation.
Okay.
So because we also have a good percentage of our customers are SMB customers. But yeah, apart from Oops Backup, we also, in August last year, we also launched the big brother of Oops Backup. It's called Altaro Backup FS. Now, Altaro Backup FS functionality, it has, for example, restore via email. So if you want to restore a file, you can restore it and receive it via email. It's meant to be installed on a file server type of backup. It has unattended install, supports all the Windows servers, etc. Okay.
Thus the FS in the title for file server. Yep. Okay. Now, can you back up your workstations to Backup FS, or does that require a separate product to do that?
No, you can use Backup FS to back up your workstations as well, yes.
Okay, so this is more of an enterprise type of product.
Well, Bruce, it's more of an SMB type of product.
Okay.
I mean, it's more the wording.
Okay,
we don't
SMB.
focus on the enterprise.
All right.
We go strictly SMB at consumer.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, it's more of an SMB type of product.
You mentioned, there's another product. Did you say this was in beta, the Hyper-V backup product?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So, can you share some information about that?
Yeah, it's still in beta right now. We're hoping to release in July or August in a few months' time. We're very, very excited about it. Well, I guess I mean your readers know what the Microsoft Hyper-V server is.
Right.
If you want, I can tell you a bit of story how it all started. It started by our own needs. The thing is, our development environment is stored on a Hyper-V server. As you know, nowadays virtualization is super hot, right?
Absolutely.
And with our development environment hosted on a Hyper-V server, obviously, we have to back all that up. When we came to back it up, we found two extremes, unfortunately. The first extreme which was the lower end of the market, was very simplistic backup solutions, where the administrators expected to know the internals of Hyper-V. And we all know nowadays, most people don't have the time to understand the complexity of, it's a time issue of how Hyper-V works internally. It's not something which you typically do. You administer Hyper-V, but not say how all the XML files and VHDs plug in together and all that, WMI scripts, etc. So, although we could do some type of backup with other backup software, we didn't have the ability to restore as we would have liked. It was not what we call Hyper-V aware.
Okay.
So we said, okay, we'll do some more research, and we found the other extreme, which is very bulky, expensive backup solutions, which although they do the job, are really complex to configure. Not to mention they have like a 5 gigabyte install. I still can't understand how you can have a backup. How can you have a software solution where the installation file is a 5 gigabyte ISO file, right?
Excuse me, David.
Sorry?
5 gigabytes to install a backup solution?
Yep. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
It's a very well-known vendor, probably one of the top.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I believe it's all yellow. So anyway,
okay.
So yes, it's a large ISO file. So that's too much, right? I mean, we qualify an SMB ourselves, and apart from that, it installs the SQL server or MSDE in the background. You have to install specific Microsoft hot fixes if you're talking about Microsoft VPN product, which is also a bit bulky. So that's a way that we were going to end up wasting more time administering our backup solution instead of administering our Hyper-V server. And that got us thinking, right? We have two extremes. We noticed that there was a huge unfilled gap for an easy-to-use, well-priced backup solution, and that's what we're trying doing now. We're trying to plug the gap with our backup software. We conducted market research, and we start developing a product based on the three pillars, which we at Altaro always try to keep in mind. We develop software which is easy to use, well-priced, because we're going for the SMB. And basically it does what it says on the tin, right? If it says it needs to use backup software, right? You install it, literally it's 5 clicks and you're ready, right? You don't have to stay worrying about Microsoft patches to install and not to install. You get reports, it's a 20 megabytes install. So exactly, it's a sweet product. You just install it and it does its job without having to worry again. So that's what we'll be releasing in a few months' time. It will be called, Altaro Hyper-V Backup. Nothing exciting there in the name, I guess, but
okay. It's important to say what a product does. I mean, that just makes sense. So no problem there. Now, are you running into more and more SMBs that are making use of Hyper-V?
Definitely. The thing is that, first of all, there is Windows 2008 Hyper-V server, right? The Microsoft Hyper-V server, which is a bare bones Windows 2008, without the UI, and it's free. Okay, so SMB, we all know SMB are super cost conscious.
Yes,
right?
they are. So, I know.
So
yes.
So we're having. I mean, and more and more people are upgrading Windows 2008. Right now, it's time that they do it. So they're all, and when you buy Windows 2008, the R2 version specifically, you get Hyper-V for free included in it. So people will make use of it. Once it's there, might as well make use of it. So more and more SMBs are going into Hyper-V. We have around 600 beta testers. Not all of them are active, but most of them, which are testing Hyper-V, and they're all SMBs, by the way.
Okay.
What we're seeing is that VMware is really strong on the enterprise aspect.
Yes.
On the enterprise portion of the market, right? Enterprises, we're seeing loads of VMware. But SMB, it's moving totally for Hyper-V. And we want to be there with the best product for them, the well-priced product, the best product, and the easiest to use, which does what it says and does it well. That's where we want to be.
Well, I think that's a great market to be in. I think you've got some good points about the SMBs using Hyper-V. Number one, you can get the basic Hyper-V at really little additional cost when you buy Windows Server.
Yep.
So that makes it really attractive for the SMBs to go ahead and implement that rather than paying, the money to VMware. So it makes sense that that they look for a backup solution for that. Now, when do you expect the beta to be concluded on this and ready to market?
It will probably be mid next month, mid-July.
Okay.
Between mid-July and end July, something like that. You know how beta is, right? It's never. It would be great if we could always stick to a certain date, but sometimes things crop up. Till now, it looks that's the time. We're hoping that nothing crops up. The feedback from beta testers has been fantastic. We've also got Microsoft MVPs testing the product and giving their feedback, and it's been super positive. We've got some Microsoft partners, mostly from the US and the UK, also testing it out. So it's working out well. Hopefully July.
And how many developers are on your team right now?
Right now we have about 4 people working on the Hyper-V product.
Okay. Now, so are they kind of divided into teams? Somebody work on OOPS, somebody work on Backup FS, or they all kind of do different things?
Not really. It's more functional, really, more than product-wise. I know that eventually developers have to be more product champions type of thing. But at this point, since we're still a relatively small company, we have functional teams. So we have people who work on the user interface of all the products. We have people who work on the engine, on the backup logic, we call it, of all the products, etc.
Question for you, David. On a personal note, in Malta, it seems like there's really a number of software houses in Malta. Is that correct? There's quite a number of companies?
Yeah, look, the IT industry is big in Malta. Relatively big, obviously. We're still talking about Malta, right?
Right, we're still talking Malta.
Yeah, so it's relatively big. But then again, we have a number of companies which do, off-the-shelf software, shrink-wrap software, like Altaro, GFI, and I can't think right now of another company. So yes, there are a few companies. I mean, it's nothing super special, to be honest with you. I mean, 3 companies I can think of right now.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. And you're a native from Malta? Is that where your home is?
Native Maltese.
Oh, Maltese. Okay. You're very proud of. We're getting some feedback here. There we go.
Is it better like that?
Can you turn maybe you ought to turn your speaker down on your.
1 second.
That's okay.
Like this? Better like this?
That's better. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do what, Sydney? Oh, we just lost your video.
Okay. Okay now?
There we go. Just pop back on. We're good. You're very proud of your reverse delta technology.
Yeah.
So kind of put this, if you can, explain to people who may not be familiar with this, and give us an overview of what it is and how it functions.
Yes, definitely. Would love to do that. So I try to make it as easy as possible. Okay, Bruce?
Okay.
Reverse delta technology is actually, we have loads of customers who buy the products just because of the reverse delta technology. The reverse delta technology is a block-based incremental backup technology that we developed ourselves. Now, what is an incremental backup technology? Nowadays, all backup products, or most of them anyway, have some type of incremental backup technology that allows them that, let's say you're backing up a file today, right? Say an SQL Server database, right?
Okay.
And you back it up today. And tomorrow, some changes were done with this database, right? Some queries, or anyway, this file was changed. Tomorrow's backup, or the day after, the next backup, you don't back up all the file from scratch, but you only back up the changes, right? So it's faster and loads of space efficiency. So let's say if the file is 10 gigabyte, the first file, and you did 2 gigabytes worth of changes to it, then you only back up 2 gigabytes. You don't stay backing up everything from scratch. So that is incremental backup technology. However, so that's cool, right?
Yes.
But we decided to take it a step further with our reverse delta technology. So what we did was when we started designing our reversal technology, we sat down and said, okay, so it's cool. We know the advantages of backup, of incremental backup, but what are the disadvantages with it? And we came up with the major one. The major one being that the most recent backup of a file is always what we call a delta. Basically, it's just the change. It's not the full file. So we said, okay, so the developer, right? I mean, because we have a really good developer who developed this technology. What we did was we did it in a way that the most recent version of a backup is always the full file. Now, why did we do that? Because we took the assumption that most, obviously not all, but most restores, most people who want to restore always restore the most recent backup.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
So with that, which makes sense, right? So with that assumption in mind, what we did is we developed technology that the most recent version is the full backup, right? And then the older backups is the full file. I'm sorry, it can get a bit complex to explain. And then the older backups are deltas, are the changes of the file. So that's why reverse. Now, this gives us two advantages. The first advantage is that the restore is super fast. Why? Because you don't have to stay building the full file from scratch from delta files, right? You always restore just a full file because that's the most recent backup is a full file. So it's fast on restore, and that's important nowadays. The second advantage is that if there was some type of corruption on the disk, right, physical corruption on the hard disk, if you have, say, 500 delta files, and if you just corrupt one of the delta files, then all of a sudden you lost all your backup with a traditional backup, incremental backup technology. With ours, since we do reverse delta, the probabilities of affecting us is much, much less because the most recent backup is always a full file and the deltas go backwards. Basically, with reverse delta, the most recent backup of a file is always available in its entirety. So I know maybe it's a bit complex to understand. On our website, I have a PDF which explains it a bit better, but I don't know if you have any questions about it. Sorry for that.
Okay, so you're doing so a couple things. Number one, you're in a way, I'm kind of translating this in language I understand. You're kind of taking snapshots of the system, and you can restore. You can go back. Can you do the back in time? Is that what's enabling this going back to a particular time and doing a restore?
Yeah. We have back in time technology, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But back in time technology can also use traditional backup. So we went a step further.
Okay.
And apart from having back in time, we also do reverse delta at the same time. So it's like double better.
double better. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's block level. So that would make the amount of storage the backup requires more efficient. And wouldn't that make the time it takes to back up faster?
Yes. Yes. The time to back up, it's a balance really, because it will be faster because you're copying less data, right? So because it's only the changes, only the changed blocks.
Right.
However, which isn't the situation in PCs nowadays, right? It will be a bit slower because you have to process. You have an algorithm which has to detect the changes. The thing is that nowadays CPU power has increased so much, right, that you don't feel that the computation algorithm to do the changes, and you get all the advantages of moving a smaller file over the network or USB drive, whatever you're backing up to.
Okay, so all right, okay. And now some of this technology doesn't it work in conjunction with the volume shadow copy service?
We integrate with the volume shadow copy service. So basically, by integrating with the volume shadow copy service, we have the ability to back up files which are in use, such as PST files, Exchange EDB files, SQL Server files, etc. But we don't use the Microsoft VSS technology in order to do incrementals. We do incrementals ourselves because Microsoft VSS technology, it's not reverse delta. So reverse delta is purely our proprietary technology.
Okay. All right.
So basically, when we developed it, we didn't have to, we didn't have to compromise. We went we didn't have to compromise. We just went and did it well.
Well, no, I mean, this is your product, and if you do your own thing, exactly right. You're not going to have to compromise.
Yep.
And I would think that then you have a pretty good working relationship with Microsoft at this time.
Yes. First of all, we're Microsoft BizSpark partners, which is we work with. I mean, basically they work with us really to help us develop more products for the Microsoft platform. However, one thing is that over the past few months, due to our Hyper-V backup product, we have been collaborating with Microsoft engineers, specifically on the Hyper-V technology and you mentioned VSS, which is the Microsoft VSS Hyper-V writer.
Right.
And that's the type of collaboration we do with Microsoft. One thing I can tell you is that working with Microsoft is really, really good. You know, they've been really helpful with the Microsoft engineers at least, and their help has been invaluable for us. Very important.
Do they help you with marketing your product as well?
Indirectly, we could. We don't do that right now, but under our Microsoft BizSpark program, they could offer some type of marketing help. But we don't do that right now. Hopefully we'll be doing that once we release Hyper-V, once we're more SMB-ish.
Oh, this is really fascinating stuff. I tell you what, we're going to take a short break, and we'll come back with David from Altaro Software in just a minute. We'll be right back.
GFI Software provides a single source for networking, security, monitoring, and hosted IT solutions for small to medium enterprises. GFI's extensive suite of award-winning on-premise solutions includes anti-spam, email security, email archiving, endpoint antivirus, centrally managed backup, event log management, server-based faxing, network monitoring, removable device control, vulnerability scanning and patch management, and web filtering and security. GFI also offers a suite of hosted solutions including email security and continuity, frontline email defense, and monitoring and remote management. With award-winning technology, an aggressive pricing strategy, and a strong focus on the unique requirements of small to medium-sized enterprises, GFI Software can satisfy your needs on a global scale. Please visit us online at www.gfi.com.
Okay, we're back with David Vela. I'm getting some messages that my chat server restarted for maintenance. I do see a question here from Tom Mack. Does Windows not have previous versions? David, that's a question for you.
Yes, actually, the next version of Windows 8, I assume. Am I right?
I think he's referring to a current version, Windows 7.
Oh, 7. Yes, it has previous versions. It uses Microsoft VSS. Unfortunately, it's a bit difficult to use. I don't know if anyone tried to configure previous versions. Also the way how you restore files, but it does have a basic type of previous backup for keeping previous version of files. Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to some other questions. Getting a little bit of feedback. Okay. Hope your audio is going crazy. David, can you hear me?
Yes, barely, however.
There it goes.
Okay.
It's good. Okay, there we go. It's good now. I don't know what happened, but let's proceed. So, as you said, when you look at backup software, there are a number of vendors out there on the market. So, being that you're relatively new, can you share with our audience some of the challenges that you're facing in the marketplace right now?
Okay, well, challenges we're facing in the market right now. We are facing challenges, obviously, because we're one of many. So, it's mostly getting people to know about us. However, I mean, I think we're doing a relatively good job at it. What we try to do is focus right now is, apart from the having a really good product, we're trying to focus a lot on customer support. We're trying to provide really good customer support, and we make sure that the experience we give to our customers is when they send some support or maybe they ask some questions, whatever it is. It's not like they're speaking with a call center, right, where everything is scripted. But we take genuine interest into answering and solving their problem. So we are getting a good, some good feedback on that lines, on those lines. However, some of the challenges is that there's loads of other backup products. I mean, that's great, right?
I think there's a high signal to noise ratio out there with all the different backup solutions, just like there is in security software. And getting heard above all the noise is critical, especially for a small company. And, I've been a GFI partner for over 5 years now. And I know that when they were really getting started, it was word of mouth, that got them out there. It was not commercials, it wasn't ads, it was users talking back and forth saying, what do you use? And they go, well, I found this company, called GFI, and I really liked it. And I'm wondering if that's not kind of the same grassroots thing that's going on for Altaro right now.
Yeah, exactly. It is that, and one of them is, good products, right? And also very good support, right? We try to be, an integrity type of company, right? Where we don't just, auto develop good software, we do good customer support, and we treat people as opposed to, an email into our support system, and that's it, right? So we reach out to different MVPs, right? So they check out our software and we talk with them, and analysts as well. So it is purely a grassroots type of marketing, which you yourself mentioned. Also, not forgetting that we're a bootstrapped company, right? We're not we won't be going splashing our logo, right, on every website out there. Definitely won't be doing that. We'll be just going through having a good product, good people, which back the product, right, support, etc., and then rely on word of mouth.
There's a comment made in the chat room that says most companies already have a backup solution. It'll be hard for them just to change to something else. So word of mouth is definitely key to get it out there. I agree with that.
Yes, yes, very true. I think word of mouth nowadays, I think nowadays mostly, it's word of mouth which really makes a big difference. I think it's critical because everyone's so is splashing his own the ads around, where people don't trust advertising anymore, right? Where previously, right?
No, they're exactly
at the start,
right.
They don't trust it, so it's about what they say. I myself can go out there and start marketing, my products, right? But it's a message coming from, from the company itself, right? If someone else, right, if a customer talks about my product to another customer,
your customers,
person,
right, David? Your customers are going to be your best sales force.
Yep, exactly, yeah. So we do our best to have great software, right, and then we rely on our customers, right, to spread the message. And mind you, it's been working very well actually at this part.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. One of the things that some or many software companies are looking at today is called the freemium model. Okay, yep. You've probably heard that term bandied around. Yep. And it seems to be on the surface, it seems to be a great way for getting that feedback.
I'm sorry, you're cutting, Bruce. I can't hear you well.
Okay, we're good. We're good again. I apologize to the audience, but occasionally we're getting something weird going on. But a lot of companies are looking at this freemium model real hot and heavy, and I wanted to get your opinion. Is that something that's right for your company or something you're considering?
Yes. Eventually, we are considering freemium model. I think it's really important. It works for companies such as TeamViewer. It worked very well for TeamViewer. It works for antivirus companies, right, such as AVG, Avira, etc.
Right.
Not to mention the industry giant Google, etc. Right.
Right.
Which is premium. However, yes, we are considering the freemium model. It is similar to the lines which we were talking about before, which is like when customers buy, when people install it and they like the product, they recommend it, right? If you have 10 people who install a free version, right, and it's a good product, and then one of them or two of them decide to buy the product, right, then it makes sense. We do plan to to have some type of freemium, free product to push our product out there. Freemium can be dangerous because with freemium, the risk is that you end up cannibalizing your own sales. So you can just put a product out there, put it free, and like that. Because the reason why you put freemium is because it has to be a marketing vehicle for you, a marketing channel to reach more people. If you put freemium out there and you reach exactly the same amount of people you were reaching before, then you will only end up with cannibalizing your sales. So what we need to do is, when we release a freemium model, we have to actually invest, which is weird, right? I mean, spending money on marketing a free product, but that's how it works. Invest to push that to loads and thousands of other customers. It has to be a good product. It won't work with a bad product. And from then, when we get goodwill, and then we can sell our more premium backup solutions. Mind you, we're not planning to do that immediately. I mean, we're still thinking about the strategy. No. And right now we're focusing on the Hyper-V as opposed to going freemium. We're still focused on the other backup products, but that's how it is. But
that's right. I empathize with you because that has got to be a really important long-term decision to your company. And it's easy to get into the freemium business, but it's really hard to get back out of it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense.
Actually, if I can, it's weird. I forgot this. Hyper-V.
Yes.
We will have 3 editions. The first edition will be a free Hyper-V version. So we are actually, I forgot. I'm silly. I'm stupid. Should have mentioned it. Hyper-V, when we release in next month, we will have the Hyper-V Express edition, which will be totally free.
Okay. Oh, fantastic!
So, from that, so it will be able to back up a number of VMs, right? I mean, we'll still have loads of features, but then customers can also buy. We have the standard edition and the unlimited edition. We're trying to price. We're going to have different editions to try to reach as many SMBs as possible. But the first edition, the Express edition, will be totally free for everyone to use. I forgot that part.
Okay, well that's good to mention it, and. Want to make sure that people out there that watch our show will do it. Let me ask you this. This is something I've kind of been predicting for a long time to come. I'm hoping that it will happen in the next version of Windows. You tell me, what do you think? Do you think that Hyper-V technology will come with Windows 8? And I'm talking on the desktop side.
Okay, it depends. I'm not sure, but it's more like, the more I see it going, it's more like, I mean, are you referring to VDI, really, Visual Desktop Infrastructure, or specifically Hyper-V as part of the OS?
I'm talking about Hyper-V as part of the OS, and specifically, more and more power users out there, geeks, whatever you want to call them, love virtual machines. They love it. And they've got Ubuntu, and they've got, some of them run Hackintoshes on VMs and so forth. And I'm wondering if Microsoft isn't going to take Hyper-V technology, put it into a client edition or add-ons to Microsoft Windows, and offer a kind of a consumer-grade virtualization environment based on Hyper-V.
Okay, so 2 things. First of all, there is Microsoft Virtual PC. Right, it's quite old, right? Microsoft Visual PC.
Exactly.
You can run VMs on desktop OS.
Right.
Mind you, I mean, I think they stopped investing in Microsoft Visual PC, really. Right. But anyway, so that's one way of doing it. You can also really, I mean, if you have the appropriate hardware, right? I mean, you can install Hyper-V on the OS itself, right? On the laptop or desktop PC itself, right? I mean, you can easily install Hyper-V on those machines as long as 64-bit, and you have the certain type of bits enabled anyway in the CPU, etc. However, there is a bit of an issue right now with Hyper-V that to use it as a home PC, where, for example, when it comes to to certain type of graphic cards, right, gaming graphic cards, etc., it won't support them fully, so people can be missing out. I don't think Microsoft will be integrating the Hyper-V into the desktop OS. First of all, I mean, Hyper-V itself is a hypervisor, so it's probably a very big change. I don't see that happening. What I see happening is VDI, right? But it's a bit different thing, which is Virtual Desktop Infrastructure, and that is where Microsoft are actively investing
Okay.
with the hypervisor, with the remote FX, etc. I think it will be a major player. But Hyper-V itself into Microsoft Desktop OS, I don't think so. But then again, I mean, who knows? But I have my doubts.
Okay, fair enough. I thought I would put that question to you. By the way, have you got a chance to see the video of the very quick, I think it was Steven Sinofsky of Microsoft, did a quick demo of Windows 8? I got to get your impression of the Metro user interface.
Yeah, with the one with the panel, with the tiles, right?
Yeah, I want to get your opinion of that.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think historically, Microsoft, first of all, with the tiles, right? Which they got them from the same concept which they have in Windows Mobile phone. It will drive adoption of Windows into tablet PCs. I think actually the other way around. The Windows 8 will drive tablet PC adoption into the workplace. Because why? Because because it's easy, because it's suited for a tablet PC. I don't really believe the current OS is good enough for tablet PC from a user interface point of view. And since it's Microsoft, right, it can be secured, it can be managed, part of Active Directory, all the integration, all the exchange, etc. So it's tightly knit. I think Windows 8 will be that operating system which will drive tablet PCs into the enterprise or SMB, whatever it is. I'm excited. I really look forward to get for a retail version of Windows OS to try, especially on a tablet PC. I think Windows 8 will be a really good product.
This one's got a lot of people very galvanized out there. There's one camp out there that absolutely does not like the Metro interface, and there's another camp that's very excited over it. It's certainly part of, I think, Microsoft's overall plan for Windows everywhere. That's kind of their whole concept.
Yeah.
Whether you run it on a phone, a tablet, a PC, it's the same experience across the board.
Yes. I personally like it, the tile interface. I think, as I mentioned, it will be that this is the operating system that will drive Windows, that has a chance of driving Windows into the workplace, because it's still Microsoft technology, it still integrates with Active Directory, with all all other tablets can do that, but it's always nice to have, a full Microsoft shop, I think, from an integration point of view.
Fair enough. We got another question in the chat room. Question: if companies move to more virtual products, does this hurt GFI desktop sales? Well, no, not really. For the most part, the GFI product line tends to be more of a network specific, the number of devices, so it doesn't really matter whether it's virtual or physical at the end of the day as far as licensing goes. So no, I don't see that affecting GFI. What I do see as affecting all of us is the cloud and the way we do licensings and the way software is used, and that's a different conversation for sure. I do see cloud backup. We're seeing more and more companies on the consumer level, such as Mozy, Carbonite, others, that are offering unlimited storage in the cloud for a fee a year, using in some type of agent technology. Is that something? And I'll put that to you, since this is your business here, David. Yep. Are you looking at some type of add-on or ability for, let's start with your consumers, the OOPS users.
Okay. So really, first of all, we are right now developing, apart from Hyper-V, we're also developing, we slowed a bit because of Hyper-V, our next generation backup platform. And with the next generation backup platform, we are going straight on to have a solution for MSPs, right, managed service providers. We think that that's, by the way, a very important step for partners that partners will and already started taking, right?
Yeah.
So our solution, we're targeting to develop a solution where customers can back up their files onto their reseller or MSP, right? So MSP can keep the files of his customers onto his servers. Now, we'll also have our own, let's call it cloud, right? Cloud storage solution where customers can also, keep a copy of the data at our premises, but it's up to them. We give choice. However, our main target will be at helping MSPs, delivering MSPs data protection solution, which they can manage themselves, they can build themselves, right? I like to call it MSP in a box, right?
Okay.
Where it's a piece of hardware, if they want to, or a virtual machine. They slot it into their data center, and they can build their customers, right? It would be all based on trust, right? I mean, the way Altaro Software and the MSP sells products, and he can manage, the MSP can manage his customers' workstations himself. I mean, he will also be able to store, as I mentioned already, the backups of his customers on his servers. That will also eliminate some problems, like, for example, a customer, let's say in Europe, right? I mean, wanting to back up some files in the States or in different EU country. Sometimes EU laws don't allow that. So yes, we are going for cloud. We're going for cloud to tier 1. We'll have our own cloud storage for consumers who want to back up on our servers, but we'll be pushing mostly for a cloud where we allow MSPs, right, to back up their customers' data on their own servers, and they can manage it themselves. MSPs will have the option to have a second copy of that into another cloud, which is a cloud we own. But basically, we're targeting and developing the tools that MSPs need to manage their customers' networks better.
All right. I'm glad to hear that, because that makes a lot of sense, especially with the MSPs, because they work. Who else works with small businesses the most than managed service providers now? And they're trusting us to take care of their networks and so forth. And the backup, that would be a great tool to have. That's for sure. I think that's going to be very, very popular, David.
Yeah. Yes,
so.
That will be part of our second generation platform.
Okay. Well, I think that's got a lot of legs to it, and you'll get a lot of traction on that. As we're kind of winding down, I have a few more questions I want to get in before, because I know you're a busy guy and the company to run, but I asked this question to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of CEOs and so forth. I'm going to put these questions to you as well. Inevitably, in any business environment, I don't care what you do, there's always things that can keep you awake at night. And it differs. Actually, the answers differ from individuals. What keeps you awake at night?
Okay, a typical answer to this is a concern. But the thing is that what keeps me away from night are not concerns per se, but more excitement. It's when I get start thinking about new projects, ideas, or features, or new products per se, etc. It's most of that, it's when you lay down, and that's when you can have time to start thinking, and that's what keeps me awake. That's also the time when I wish I had unlimited resources. So it's exciting stuff. It's all like what I just mentioned, the MSP in a box. That's one thing which keeps me up at night. The Hyper-V solution, that's also another thing which keeps them. That's a problem, because sometimes I don't manage to sleep well because of that. But anyway,
right.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay. And, finding talented people, right? Really good developers, and the hiring process, and probably every bit as important, if not more important, is retaining the ones you do get. How do you, what practices do you use to find talent and retain talent?
Okay, finding talent. It's what I really look for: people who have, how do you say, the spark in their eye, curious people.
Mm-hmm.
What everyone says, right? Passion and ambition, I guess everyone wants the same thing. They're top of my list. I don't have, university degrees are not a requirement, although, they're good. But anyway, it's about people who are curious, people who always ask the question how things work, right? People who take a challenge. That's how I like, people, how I like to have people to work with me, the type of things I like anyway. How I retain them, well, I would say, they work on exciting projects, but let's face it, I don't think there's any company that can have employees, maybe except NASA or JPL, maybe, that can have employees that are always 100% of the time working on exciting projects. Mm-hmm. There are times, when employees, they won't have exciting projects to work on. I'm one of them. Sometimes I don't have exciting projects to work on. So what I do is I build a personal relationship with employees. That's the best thing. It's based on trust. They know what I want, and I know what they want. I also, I always try to mentor them and push them towards fulfilling their dreams. There were employees, right, who I know they had potential, and they ended up opening their own software company, for example. And that's something which I know they left my company, but at least I know that I helped someone. Because really, employees, at the end of the day, are family. That's how I like to see it. So it's most about keeping a good personal relationship based on trust and honesty with the employees. I think that's enough to retain talent. Level ground, no egos. When I make a mistake, it's a mistake, and that's it.
Okay. I like the part about family, because they do become family.
Yes.
You spend more time with the people you work with than your wives and kids, and so.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, the last question I have for you. Okay, we're getting that noise again. Hopefully that'll go away. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
There we go. If I could have, let me rephrase this. If you could offer only one piece of business advice as an entrepreneur, what would that advice be?
Okay. What I can tell you is about a simple guideline that I make my decisions against. It might work for some entrepreneurs, but one thing which I really believe in is that whenever I need to make a decision, I always ask myself one question, and this is actually a very important question: what's the worst that can happen? Most of the time, when I have a difficult decision to make and I analyze the worst that can happen, most of the time I realize that it's really not a hard decision after all, right? It's relatively easy. This, for example, when I left GFI, right? It's obviously after 11 years, right? It's more than family. So I said, what's the worst that can happen? So this helps me in not being risk averse. That's something I don't want to be, but we can't take risks. So if I had to recommend something, if an entrepreneur wants to take some decision and maybe he's finding it difficult, could be also a would-be entrepreneur wants to open his own company, always has to sit down and ask the question, what's the worst that can happen if in this decision it goes wrong, right? Most of the time the worst that can happen is really nothing difficult at all, and most of the time the risk is worth doing. I think that's really, I think one thing which I live with day by day. I always have the same thing in life and in work, by the way, also in life, what's worst that can happen. That's I think really.
That good advice. That's good, solid advice. What's the worst? Right, exactly. Ask yourself, what's the worst thing can happen? Sometimes inaction is a lot more painful than action. I tell you, David, I just read an interesting little quote today, and I really liked it a lot, and I'll share this with you before we go, and it is, don't be afraid of new ideas. Be afraid of the old ones.
Yes.
I like that.
Exactly. That's when I like one last thing, when I ask the question, when I want to do something, and someone tells me, right, it has to be done that way, my next question is, says who? Like, it's about challenging the status quo.
Gotcha.
Right? And it makes real sense.
All right. David, you've been very kind to come and visit with us today. We'll give you a standing invitation anytime you want to come back and talk to us. Maybe call us in a few months and give us an update on how things are going.
Okay.
We appreciate that.
Oh, I would love to do that. Thanks a lot, Bruce.
Okay.
I really appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming by, David.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care now.